In 2013, Angela Duckworth was awarded the MacArthur Genius Grant, has TED Talks with millions of views, and her work in psychology led to the word grit becoming famous and a widely recognized concept in self-development. Angela was also my favorite professor when I went to Wharton for my MBA because I've always been fascinated by psychology. And today I want to share with you what I learned from her class, Leading with Grit, by first explaining what grit is and why it's important, and then the 5 steps that you can actually take to develop grit yourself. Alright, so with that said, let's first go into what grit actually is. As defined by Angela, grit is sustained passion and perseverance for especially long-term goals. Further breaking this down, passion is about loyalty and being consistently dedicated, while perseverance is about not giving up despite any obstacle. The definition of grit is simple, but actually developing it is both a challenge and a gift. You can only develop grit if you truly believe in something, and also if you have the privilege of having the time and energy to develop it. So to take an extreme example, if you're a single mom who has to support 2 kids, you don't have a lot of time to develop your grit for a passion beyond maybe supporting your family. As a result, grit is not something everyone can have, and also it's not something everyone needs because some people just want to take it easier in life, and that's perfectly fine. With that said, grit is worth cultivating if you want to succeed or achieve anything meaningful in life. All of the greatest of the greats have had grit, whether that be Kobe Bryant, Shakespeare, or Steve Jobs. For example, Angela shared one story I loved about Tom Brady, who was running in the parking lot, and when asked what he was doing, he didn't just say, "I'm practicing" or "I'm getting in a quick run." He said, "I'm winning the Super Bowl." Because every stretch he does, every single practice he's in, his mind is on his long-term goal of winning the Super Bowl. That's the mentality of someone who has grit, and honestly, I thought that was pretty damn cool. Now, if you're watching this video because one day you want to break into a top MBA program and take classes like the one I'm discussing in today's video, then you may need to first take the GMAT. And in that case, I highly recommend Target Test Prep or TTP, which I credit a lot for helping me get a 750 on the GMAT, which scores on the 98th percentile. Target Test Prep has been helping students crush the GMAT for 16 years and covers quant, verbal, and data insights for the new GMAT focus, with 52 rigorous chapters broken into over 1,500 lessons, over 4,000 realistic GMAT problems, over 1,300 instructor-led videos, 1,200 digital flashcards for studying on the go, and live online support from GMAT focus experts. TTP is also the only company on GMAT Club with a perfect 5-star rating, and they also have the highest score improvement guarantee of 130 points. You're able to personalize your study plan and practice tests to whatever works best for you. And so if you're interested, you can try out TTP for 5 days completely for free using my link down in the description below. And also be sure to use my code rareliquid15 to get 15% off. All right, with that said, let's now go into the 5 steps for developing grit. Now, before getting started, I do want to preface everything by saying that these 5 steps incorporate what I learned from class, but these are not steps that directly come from Angela. And so in part, a lot of what I'm going to discuss today comes from my own thinking and what makes sense to me. Okay, so let's start with step 1, which is nurture your interests. And this is one of the most overlooked and kind of underrated parts of the entire process. Interests are what ultimately lead to passions. And a lot of times passion, people think that it's something that's purely innate and comes naturally without much effort or thought. But passion is actually something that needs to be discovered, cultivated, and reinforced over time. Interests are things you explore and are wide-ranging, while passion is more focused and enduring. And if you don't know what your passion is, it's extremely important that you explore and try many different things until something grabs your attention and you can't stop focusing on it. Especially if you are young, you want to be what's called a paramecium, which is a single-celled protist naturally found in water. And parameciums only swim towards warmth and nutrients, and when it bumps into an obstacle, it backs up like a Roomba, pivots randomly, and moves forward and then goes straight. This is the metaphor Angela used for nurturing your interests. Try a lot of different things, and if you determine that it's not for you, pivot towards something different and keep pivoting until you get to an interest that makes you feel a little warm inside. Next, step 2 involves identifying strength and growth areas, and this will often naturally happen while you're nurturing your interests because as you try different things, you'll figure out what you're good and not good at. Talents are defined as what come easily to you, and Angela provided a really interesting mathematical approach to how talent relates to achievement. So talent equals the rate at which you get better, talent times effort equals skill, and skill times effort equals achievement. What this means is that effort is a multiplier and counts twice. Even with talent, you need effort to turn that potential into skill, and then once a skill is developed, applying additional effort leads to achievement. This means that without continuous effort, talent doesn't result into skill, and skill alone won't turn into achievement. All of this is to say that in order to develop grit, you need to not just figure out what you're talented at, but more importantly, what you're willing to put effort into. To me, the vast majority of times, people put effort into what they're good at or in order to avoid things they're bad at. And so that's why it's really important for you to be self-aware, reflect a lot, and figure out your own strengths and growth areas. Next, step 3 is oftentimes the most challenging one, which is figuring out your especially long-term goal, aka your passion. For those who develop grit, there is a tipping point while you're exploring your interests and where things become all-consuming and eventually turn into passion. Sometimes for some people, this may feel like the heavens open up and their gut tells them that they are on this earth to do something. But based on what I've learned about grit, I think it's a much more gradual process that comes from a lot of exploration of interests and self-reflection about deep innate strengths. Determining your long-term goal is one of life's greatest challenges, and 1 in 3 adults have not found their purpose. One tip that Angela recommended is in finding 3 people you really admire and trying to understand what draws you to them if you're not really sure what your passion is. It's also totally okay to write your long-term goal in pencil, so to speak, until you have more conviction and clarity. And once you feel really strongly about something, then you can write your long-term goal more in pen or a big fat Sharpie. The last thing I want to mention is that Angela would always say that perseverance without passion is hell and not sustainable. So you can't have grit without figuring out this step. Now going into step number 4, you need to implement deliberate practice and get good feedback. Deliberate practice involves 4 steps, and the first includes deciding on a small sub-skill to practice and setting specific goals like practicing and hitting 25 golf balls perfectly in a row. The second step requires focused application, which means intense concentration on the task at hand. And so, for example, if you're practicing the violin, playing each single note with a lot of intent and listening carefully to the quality and timing of each note. The third step is seeking feedback, and I was surprised to learn from Angela that good feedback cannot be done without a coach or some kind of credible source that can give you the feedback. I was kind of surprised to learn this because we kind of live in a day and age now where you can pretty much learn anything online and you can get pretty far, especially if you're talented, by teaching yourself. But to really get to that next level, you will need someone to give you good feedback. And this is why even the greatest athletes, musicians, and businessmen of all time have coaches and mentors. Fourth, after all of this intent, deliberate focus, taking total rest is also extremely important. So make sure that you're taking time off so you're not burning yourself out. Deliberate practice is the most effortful and least enjoyable in the moment. Like, do you think Kobe enjoyed waking up every morning at 4 a.m. and making 100 free throws in a row? Probably not, but the mundanity of excellence is something that you can get used to and even start to enjoy by setting goals, seeing progress, and rewarding yourself. And all this helps maximize your practice and further develop your grit. Last but not least, step 5 involves creating a supportive environment, and surprisingly, gritty people lean on people more, not less. When you are truly gritty about something, you likely care super deeply about it and are willing to go to the ends of the earth to achieve your goals. And if you're alone in this journey, you're likely going to burn out. At the same time, because you care so much, you're also likely going to be able to bring people along with you in your journey because you're so fervent in your beliefs. Whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, you're going to need other people to help you. And if you surround yourself with the right teammates, mentors, colleagues, coaches, and etc., then you're going to be able to achieve a whole lot more together and overcome obstacles, which will further fuel your passion and create a virtuous reinforcing cycle. So those are the 5 steps for developing grit, but I do want to mention that grit is more of a long-term mindset that you develop, not an on or off switch. And I actually have a whole lot more that I could share about what I learned in this class because I took pages and pages of notes. Let me know down in the comments if you want more Angela Duckworth related content and videos. Also, in case you clicked on this video because you're interested in breaking into a top MBA program and learning from classes like the one I just discussed today, I recently announced a how to get into MBA course called liquidMBA, where we go over everything you need to know about the MBA application process, what admissions committees look for, and etc. We also have a library of admitted essays so you can see what it takes to write a killer essay that gets you into a school. And we also have very, very detailed, specific advice for schools, how to approach their essays, and a whole lot more after speaking with over 100 MBA alumni and students. Lastly, we have a money-back guarantee because I know that this product will help you get into your top program or the programs of your choice if you really follow through the entire course. And so feel free to check out liquidMBA. I'll leave a link and information in this video's description. With that said, in the next screen, you'll see a video about another class I took about private equity that I took at Wharton that I really enjoyed. With that said, thank you all so much for watching. Hope to catch you all in the next video. Thanks guys, and peace out.